Today, I want to talk about the book of Genesis. Genesis is the first book in the Bible, and it's known as the book of beginnings because of how it recounts the creation story and Noah's flood, which is the second beginning, and how God authors his first plan of redeeming humanity from their sin by choosing certain people like Abraham, Noah, and Joseph to lead the way. But apart from these themes of beginnings, God shows us another theme, which is patience throughout the book. And there are four instances where I think this is heavily emphasized. The first instance where patience is emphasized is in Genesis 3, when God shows patience to Adam and Eve and shows them mercy and love, even though they rebelled against God and ate of the fruit. Even in spite of this rebellion, God still loves and cares for them, and he showed them the first evidence of a plan to redeem them in Genesis 3:15, which reads, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." This is the first place where the gospel message is shared, but how God will redeem us and help us come back to him and have a relationship with him at the end. The second instance where God's patience is and how we should be patient is emphasized is in Noah's story in Genesis 6 through 8. In these two chapters, God and Noah show patience on the earth they live in, where there's so much wicked things that happen around them. God showed patience by letting Noah know that he would flood the earth to kill every wicked thing, but he would save Noah and his family. And Noah showed patience by enduring with the world for more than 100 years by building an ark to save his family and trusting and having faith that God would be faithful and that he would save them. And the third instance where patience was emphasized that I've seen in my daily Bible reading is in Abraham's story, where in Genesis 12, God tells Abraham to go out from Haran, where his father died, and to go down into Canaan because he would make him great. In Genesis 12, 1 through 2, it reads, "The Lord had said to Abram, 'Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. You will be a blessing.'" In the second part of this verse, it reads, "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you." But Abraham had no heir. He was 75, and he was without child. But here, Abraham trusted God, and he had faith, and he was patient with him for over 25 years, and he had a son when he was 100 years old, and his name was Isaac, and he was the promised one of God. The fourth and final place that I saw patience was emphasized was in Joseph's story, about how his plan with the cupbearer failed, and how he was still stuck in prison. For some context, I want to remind you of how, while he was still in prison, a baker and a cupbearer had dreams that they didn't know what the meaning of, and Joseph interpreted for them. The cupbearer was elevated back to his position, and the baker was killed. But Joseph knew that the cupbearer was going to go back to Pharaoh, and he asked him to do a favor, which was to set him free. And the cupbearer forgot, unfortunately, which left Joseph in prison even while the cupbearer was free. Here, we know before we read the passage that Joseph was going to be set free in 2 years because of Pharaoh having a dream and Joseph interpreting that dream. But here, Joseph doesn't know if he would stay in prison for a day longer, a year longer, or for the rest of his life because the cupbearer forgot. And so Joseph here trusts in God and has faith that he would set him free eventually because, after all, he was wrongfully accused of many things by Potiphar, and he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. So he has patience with God, and he trusts and believes and that God would rescue him in the end. And he does eventually, as he's elevated to second in place in Egypt. Finally, in conclusion, among these four instances where patience was emphasized, we can see three of the men, which is Abraham, Noah, and Joseph, show that among patience, they also had immense faith. They had faith, Noah had faith that God would send a flood and that building an ark was to save him and his family. Abraham had faith that even though he had no heir at 75, that God would give an heir one day when he didn't really know the date, but he gave him an heir when he was 100 years old. And Joseph knew that God would save him no matter what, no matter how long it took, because there was a God that cared for him. And here, So because of these great men of faith and their example and their patience, we can try and build up our patience and faith using their examples throughout this week.